So the step is the same. Constructor name is same as constructor name is same as class name. Okay. Now creating a project. Continue with code. File, new project. Next, copy constructor. Sample underscore. Go to E drive, Dotnet batch 3 code snippets. Okay, here I'm going to create a constructor of copy. Right. Okay. Now in this program, I'm create a father class. Okay. In the father class, I'm going to have a private int id, private string name, right? Two variables I have. Now I'm going to have a constructor of father, where here id equal to 0, string name equal to string dot empty. You got my point? Then I'm going to have a method called void read data. I'm going to have a method void read data. You got my point? Private, not private. I'm making a public method. I'm going to read data from the user. So that what I'm going to use, console dot right line of enter the ID, right? ID equal to convert dot to int read line. Same way, copy this. I'm going to use enter the name. Here I'm going to use name. Clear? But I don't need this one. Now, this method will give you an object. Say I created a class called ID. I created a variable called name. In the normal constructor, both are empty. After that, I have a read data. Now in the program.class file, I'm going to use father underscore father is equal to new of father. And then underscore father dot read data is your method. Now you are going to say console dot read line. Okay. Now I'm putting a breakpoint here. Run the project. What is my ID? 2. Name Narendra. Now, if you look into the father object has two variables, ID variable and name variable. Now, what I'm planning to do, I'm copying this object to the another same constructor, one more constructor. I'm going to pass this object to the other constructor. So what will happen? In the father class, I'm going to have CTOR, right? Here, I'm going to pass the parameter as father underscore father underscore father. Now what I'm going to do, ID is equal to name equal to and you can also say that this dot, it will be more useful, name. Okay, this means it will denote to current class. If you go see this, it is denoting the current class. It's always a best practice. You have to use this. I got my point. So now you are copying the value to this object. Now in the program.cs file, I'm going to create another object father. Okay, father is equal to new of father, where you are passing this object. That means that the object what you created, that you are going to pass as a parameter, means you are copying the constructor value. You are created an object. After creating the object, the same object you are going to pass it to the another constructor. That means you are copying that object containing value to the new object. I got my point. You are copying the old object value to the new object. That is why it is called it as a copy constructor. The moment I got that, I will have one more method, public void write data. Right? In the console.write line, you simply say ID value is comma this dot ID. Right? In the current class, you will have an ID field. Now, home, paste, name value is, here you are going to say name. Right? Now, this object I'm going to call father dot write data. Clear? Now, when you run it, my ID is 1, name is Narendra. Enter. See, I got both ID value is 1, name values. I'm copying an object. I'm copying the value of one object to another object by using what construct? Copy construct. Are you got my point? So this is called copy constructor. Nitin? Nitin?
Yes, sir.
You understand? Ranil?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Fine.
Yes, sir.
So what is the notes you have to do? How you are writing the notes?
Yes, sir. I'm copying the notes, sir. This one
We
only.
need to have two constructor in a class. First point. We need to have two constructor in a class. One doesn't require any argument. One constructor doesn't require doesn't require any argument. And runtime, we are capturing data, right? Second constructor, another constructor should pass previously created object to that previously created object as a parameter. Very good. You got my point. Then fifth point, copy those object value to the newly creating constructor. Copy those object value to the newly created constructor which required object as a parameter. Make sense? Make sense? Points are. So this is called copy constructor. In real time, 80% we won't use copy constructor, but in C# they've given this feature. So that is why copy constructor is important. See, listen carefully. First, what I am doing in the father class, in the normal constructor, I'm just resetting my value. ID equal to 0. Name equal to string or empty, which doesn't have any value. Okay. And then the object will be created for father. And then you are going to read the data from the user. Go to definition. How you are reading the data? Console.WriteLine, enter. So you can simply say here, this dot. What is meant by this? Here, this is a keyword. This is a keyword used to hold the current class containing variable and method. Current class containing variables, methods, etc. Even properties also you can use this dot. You got my point? So anything on the current class, you can use this. Always see, how can I differentiate here? See, this I can understand it is coming from a variable. This means current class variable. So by seeing the code, I can easily understand. By seeing the code, I can easily understand what I'm doing here. You got my point? So that is why always has a best practice to mention this. Always as a best practice to mention this. Now here you can use this dot. Now see, throughout the code, you can see all the places you will have this. Now you can also have here also. Clear? I got everything. So this is called copy constructor. Okay. Now take the code. Code snippet. The another big challenge is the one which you are going to do. Private constructor. This is most important. I will stop from the private constructor today. Okay. The next topic is private constructor. Okay. Listen carefully. To create constructor. No. Constructor name is same as class name. Right? This is your first point. Now go back to your solution. Close solution. Create new project. Sample. Private constructor. Now you got the private constructor. Okay. Now you go and create a class. Same father. Okay. In the father class, I am making my constructor is private. Listen carefully. Private father. I created a constructor as private. Nitin. Not Nitin. David. Nitin and Praneeth.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I create a constructor as private. Now I'm trying to create an object from the program class. Will it work? When you build it, I'll get an error. What it is saying? Can you read this?
Father is inaccessible due to its protection level.
Anything you declared here as private can access only within the class. That is very clear. I got my point. Anything you declared, it should be access within the class. How to access within the class? You can't do it. So you have to create object within the class and you need to return back. I got my point. For that, okay, now tell me to call this father containing method. Can I have a static method? Without creating an object. 1 second. Hello. Yeah. Right now I don't have. Okay, fine. Why? What happened? Okay. Can you ping me in WhatsApp? I can send you back. Okay. I'll send you by 10:30 because I'm outside. L&D Infotech interview and Dotnet. See, I'm creating a public static, but I'm not using a void main method. I'm going to use instance method. Okay. Public instance. Okay. Here, instead of void, I'm going to return a father object. Got it? I'm going to return a father object. Now build it. It will not work. Why? Because, so what I'm going to do in the father class, instead of calling this father dot, you can create an instance. I got my point. So without creating an object, with the help of static method, I can able to access instance. Now here I'm going to create a object of the class father. So how to do that? Private father underscore father. Right? I'm declaring a variable of father. Now what I'm going to do? Father equal to new of father. When you run it, it will throw error. Why? Because it doesn't have any return path. So what I need to do? After creating an object, I'm going to return underscore father. Object is created, but again there is a problem. What they are saying, can you read this? The object is required for non-static field or method. Any variable you are using within a static, it should be static. Have you got my point? So what do you need to do? Private static. To make your variable a static, this will work. Have you got my point? So what will happen? Within a class, I'm going to create an object. That object I'm going to return back to the program with the help of instance method, where the instance method is static. Now, second point, to create a constructor with private access specifier, with private access specifier, right? When we try to create object, the private constructor will not allow it. You got my point? Because of protection level. Will not allow it because of protection level private. Because of protection level private access. Private access specifier. Pranit, understand? Pranit?
Yes, sir. Understand, sir.
Okay. Now the fourth point is, to create object outside class. To create object outside the class, we need to use a static method. We need to use a static method within a class to return object for the same class. You got my point? Under static method, we need to create an object. And then return back to the calling function or method. Clear? So this is called static method. Okay. Always a static method. Sixth point, always static method will accept only static variable. A static method cannot accept non-static variable. You got my point? So that also you need to mention. Now come back. I try to create a further instance. The console.writeLine further object hash code is, listen carefully, hash code is comma further dot get hash code method. Make sense? Now I'm going to create another object further one. father1 dot get dashboard. Now build the project. Project succeeded. Console dot read line. Now, if you run the program, you see I got two different hash codes. That means it is creating object for each and every time. It is creating object for each and every time with the help of object. Sir, I don't want to create each and every time with the new memory. I want to reuse the same memory with the help of private constructor. Nathan and Pranit, you understand? See, now it is creating two different memory spaces. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I want to reuse the same memory from first one to second one. What I need to do is, in the father class, if father is equal to null, I'll create an object. So I'm not going to do anything. When the first time, what will happen? Your father is null. So it will create an object. And you are returning. When you try to call the second time, already this father is holding an object. Will it go and create the object or it will return the same object? It will return the same object. So I am reusing the same memory, which is called as single time. Which is called as.
Sir, your voice is not audible, sir.
Come again.
Your voice, sir. Voice is not audible.
Okay. Now you understand?
Yes, yes, sir.
Now you see. You see, both are having the same resource name, same memory. Pranit, you got it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How? Only because of one line statement, this statement. Okay. So this is most important in interview. They'll simply give a paper, ask you to write singleton pattern in C#. If I be an interviewer, I'll definitely ask this question. Then only you can able to understand constructor properly. You got my point? See, listen carefully. I created a father as private. My constructor is private. Father containing constructor is private. To access object of this father constructor, I cannot able to do it. For that, on top of that, what I'm planning to do, I create a static method which will return father object. I create a static method of the class which will return father object. Under the father object, I'm creating an object, returning that object. That is your second point. Third point, the variable which you are declared for father class always be static because a static method can accept only static variable. A static method can accept only static variable. If I remove static here, when you run it, you will get an error. What they're saying, your object reference is required for the non-static field. To access this particular variable, I need to create object for the class. Right now, I can't able to create an object. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make this variable as simply static. The moment you make this variable as static, it is able to access within the static method. What method? The variable static is going to use within the static method. Once you create the object, you are going to return the object. Or you got my point? And then in the program class, I'm trying to call the object. The program class, I'm trying to call the object, and that object I'm going to get the memory. When you're creating the second time, object is already available. It will not go in. It will return the same object once again. Let me put a breakpoint. You see here. Start. First time it will go inside. Function F11. It is creating an object. Then it is returning. And your hash code is done. Now you're going back. See, the father is holding an object. Father is holding an object or not? First time it is null. Now it is holding an object. So simply come down, it will return. So object is creating for only one time. Object is created for only one time. That is called singleton pattern in C#. Yeah. Now coming back. To achieve singleton pattern, we need to implement what? We need to implement check condition. Check condition for father object is null or not. For father object is null or not. Eighth point. If it is null, create object and return to calling method. If it is not null, just return to calling method. Yeah. Am I right or wrong? So now if you look into that, to create constructor name is same as class name. To create constructor with the private access specifier. When we try to create an object, private constructor will not allow it because of protection level private. To create object outside the class, we need to use static method within a class to return object for the same class. Under static method, we need to create an object and return back to the calling function or method. A static method will always accept, a static method will always accept only static variable or only static variable. To achieve singleton pattern, we need to implement check condition for father object is null or not. If it is null, create object and return to the calling method. If it is not null, just return to the calling method. This is called singleton pattern and private constructor. So today we discussed copy constructor, private constructor. Third one is singleton pattern. Tomorrow topic is static constructor and inheritance basics. Tomorrow we are going to talk inheritance. Half an hour for inheritance, half an hour for static constructor. Right? I think day after tomorrow we may not have class. If I have class, we'll see. Because election time, right? Everybody will go to hometown and all those things. Anybody have any questions?